Okay, I am back. What is up, y'all? It's me, Moosey. Sorry, that was the corny 2016 intro. And today, hold on, let me get fuel you in. So, I recorded. Why are you making noise, bro? I literally put how many rubber washers in there? This time it's the fan, I think. Ignore it. It's the Supreme ceiling fan. It's a bit of a troublemaker. Alright, so last week I did record a video and I never uploaded it. It was talking about like healing crystals and all that, how it should be, and good luck charms and how it's idolatry and they should be thrown in the garbage, and people that have those and all the like junk where it's like, oh, this crystal makes me feel better. And it's got, these geodes with like whatever, and people give them this like sacred meaning, making these objects higher than they actually are, giving them spiritual weight when they have none. 30-minute long video about it. But the problem is it was so controversial. I was gonna provide verses for it. I was gonna do research and find the verses, because there is verses. I am like right now unprepared. I always come to these videos with just me and the camera. That way it's just natural. I don't want to like try to practice or anything. I just want this to be like, so that way the spirit could speak through me, right? But the problem is I knew people were going to get mad, so I wanted to try to get verses prepared for it. I just never did it, so I never uploaded the video. It's still sitting there on the phone. I just need to find the verses to put in the description. So I'm lazy. This video is going to be a weird one. So on my list, it's talking about love and relationships and marriage. That's what this video is about for some reason. I don't know why. That's, I think, what me and my friend were talking about the other day. He told me to make it a video, so I guess that's what I'm doing. No, I am not in any relationship. No, I'm not married. Any relationship I've been in, I kind of burned, but that was before following Christ. So I am not necessarily going to speak from experience, but again, this is another wishy-washy topic, so I don't know how to make a video on this, but I had such a good conversation about it. So basically, God designed us. I'm just going to say it and just start talking and get it going. I don't want to delay the video any longer, but basically God designed us, right, male and female. And it says in Matthew, it says all over the place, they'll come together and become one flesh, right? So, God designed male and female. We're supposed to find our wife, and that's that. Now, it doesn't always work like this, but theoretically, this is what I was telling my friend, because he was telling me a story about someone, relative or someone in his family had an issue with this. Because the first relationship you actually get into is usually the one that you stick to the most, right? So let's say you're someone that's older, right? Think about your first relationship you've ever had with someone, right? I've had like two, and it's always different the first time than it is the second, right? Usually you're a teenager or you're a young adult, and usually it just hits different, right? Usually it's like you fall in love with someone, you fall in love, bro. You're obsessed with this person, you want to be with them every single 5 seconds, right? You want to be near them every time. They're always on your mind, always thinking about them, right? And then it just accelerates so quick. Well, why did God design us like that? Well, he designed us like that to obviously, get married and then reproduce, but also to have the covenant with God in marriage, right? But my point being is that there's people, especially in today's age, and I can speak because I'm Gen Z. I know, I've been around them. A lot of people my generation, it's this like hookup culture where it's just like you date one guy or you date one girl, you date them for a couple months and then you drop them, you find another guy, and it's always just like this crappy like thing. And it's like the issue with that is you numb yourself when you do that, because God designed you to go with one woman. Your first, and that should be it. Your first marriage, your first woman, your first man should be your last man and should be your last woman. Not first, second, third, fourth, fifth. It should be the first should be the last. And I'm going to get into a huge connection with Revelation in a second with that. But in relationships and marriage, the first one should be the last one, right? You know, for example, I know old people that have been married and their first husband or first wife is still their wife now, still their husband now. You know, I know people that were married for 50 years, 40 years. Why? Because the first person they met is still their wife today. Right? The first girl they dated is still their wife today, 45 plus years later, 30 years later, 20 years later, 50 years later, right? Why do you think that works? And as us young people, we look at those relationships and say, man, how do they do it? Well, they do it because they actually care about, they were different back then. They cared about God a little bit more and they cared about people a little bit more. Now we're so disposable in this lifetime, you know, that's how we treat one another. Like, oh yeah, who cares? This guy said this to me, I don't like him anymore. And it's like, we stopped caring about one another. You know? If you look at like the baby boomers and you look at the difference between, like, look at old people, right? You know old people in your faith. You might be an old person yourself. Usually older people, you know, tend to have faith in God. Tend. Think about it. Don't take it from me. Go to church. The majority of people in a church are usually older people. 50 or above. 60 or above, usually, right? You don't go into a church and it's just young people everywhere. I mean, maybe there's some out there, but typically the average church you go to, you walk in and guess who's there? It's usually a lot of older people, right? Or wrong? That's right. Why do you think that is? Why do you think as generations go down, we start losing faith? Now look at Gen Z. If you're a Gen Z person, you're a teenager, you're 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, you know, is it either you or do you know someone that has parents that don't follow God, or you've had a disrupted household, right? You've had parents who divorced, parents who fought, domestic violence, right? I'm sure a lot of us would raise our hand, right? Because the majority, almost everybody I knew that was in my generation had corrupted parents. 100%. They all have a stepmom, a stepdad, their parents are fighting, or their parents are still fighting, and they still have issues in the household. Stuff that isn't settled. Guess what? None of those people follow God. None of those people. It's like when you get to Gen X and Gen Y, I don't know what it was, it's like the faith just, especially Gen X, right? No offense to anyone that's Gen X that is following God. You're a candle in the dark, truthfully. Because when I talk to all the people that I know, my friends, my coworkers, people that are around my age, I can't even think of one that just has normal parents. Almost all of them, almost literally all of them, if not all of them that I know, have messed up parents some way, shape, or form. I'm being serious. Like, I'm not even kidding. I'm thinking about more people now. I'm like, yep, he also has a dad that does this. His mom is this. Her mom is that. Or so-and-so. It's like every person. I don't know what it is with Gen Z, right? Why? Because our parents are either two things, not married, or they are married, but they don't follow God, which is kind of ironic. How can you be married and not follow God? Marriage is a covenant with God. So why would you be married? What's the point? You don't follow God, why bother getting married? It doesn't do anything, right? So just think about that to yourself. Whether you're an older person, you're Gen X, Gen Z, whatever it is, think about it. Be like, where am I? Where are the people that I know? Do they follow God, or do my parents follow God? Do my kids follow God? Think about it. If you look at the generations going from before all the way down to now, and you can Google it. You can look at the faith on a chart, and the faith is going to go down. You know, you can look at faith in Jesus Christ in like the last 100 years, from like 1920 to 2020, right? And I guarantee you, I haven't looked it up, I haven't Googled it myself, but I'll put money on the line. You look at those graphs, they ain't going up, they're going down. And I'm sure they started to drooping like around the 70s and 80s, and it just starts to go, right? So back to my thing I was talking about. Okay, well, whatever, Moosey, so what's your point? My point is us now, there's other generations, fine, but like we're the young generation now. We got Gen Z and Gen Alpha on the line here. And again, I have not been in many relationships. I'm glad. Those relationships were like they started and ended really quick. I never really been in a true relationship yet. And I'm glad. Because I know if I did, I would still feel some sort of heartbreak. That's a word that the Bible uses very rarely and carefully. We all today, us people say the word heartbreak like we just throw it around. Oh, I'm heartbroken. No, heartbreak is like an illness. It's treated extremely carefully in the Bible. I know that sounds very dramatic. It is. Jesus said things, other people said things in the Bible were like, oh yeah, this will lead to heartbreak, or this will do this, and this can lead to whatever. Why do you think that word was used so carefully? Because it's not meant to happen. Heartbreak is not meant to happen. It's not going to happen with God. Because God says, I'll never leave you or forsake you. He's always around. You can leave and forsake him, but he ain't going to do it with you. Right? So the only way we can feel heartbreak is with other people on the planet. And there's going to be a huge argument, and people say, what about parents? What about brothers and sisters? Fine, that's one thing, but what about relationships? Because I guarantee you that's going to cause damage. Talk about heartbreak. Right? Remember the time you broke up with your first girlfriend, first boyfriend? What did that feel like? The first time. Or what? Forget that. Maybe the first long relationship that you broke up into. You still feel it to this day. I know someone that was in a relationship and that was broken up, and to this day they still struggle with that relationship. They still think about it and it bothers them. It haunts them because they miss that person. They miss that relationship. They miss what they had. But the thing is that relationship never started with God. It crumbled. Jesus talked about the house on the rock, and this works just the same as this. A foolish man will build his house on sand, and when the rain comes and the storm hits, his house is going to fall down. But Jesus said the man who is wise and builds his house on the rock, when the storm and the winds blow and beat against that house, it ain't going nowhere because he built it on a rock. He didn't build it on the sand that moves and gets washed away. He built it on the rock. Therefore, with you and your relationships, do you build your relationships on the sand or do you build them on the rock? Because I tell you what, most people today, and I say that very clearly, most people today build all their boyfriends, girlfriends, all their relationships are built on sand. Doesn't survive many storms. Give it a few arguments, and that house, that relationship's going right in the water, and it's gone. You ain't gonna see it again. You can't get those pieces and bring it back. Once that breaks, it's broken. Right? So therefore, that's why the Bible says don't rush into getting these relationships. Don't start whatever. Jesus even said himself when the disciples asked him, because Jesus was talking about marriage and, when you divorce someone, it's adultery, which is that's why. And the disciples asked him, it's like, wow, well, it sounds like maybe we should just not get married. And Jesus agreed with them. It'd be better to not get married, at least in this day and age. Maybe back then it was different, but this day and age, it's better to just not even deal with anything. Because think about it, when you're married, right, if two become one flesh, because guess what? All your wife's problems are now your problems. And all your husband's problems are now your problems, right? He's got an issue at work. Well, guess what? That's your issue too. If you guys own a house together, if he has a problem at work or he gets fired, loses his job, guess what? That's going to affect you as well. Likewise, let's say your wife has an issue at work. That's going to be your problem too. Yeah. Think about it. All of her problems are your problems, and all of his problems are your problems too. Anything. Down to the smallest, minute little thing to big problems. Right? That's what it is. It's double everything. Your wife gets sick, your husband gets sick. Well, guess what? There's medical bills right there. You know, you're tied together. Everything matters as one thing. You know, it's not easy. You know, you want to follow God and you have a wife. Well, guess what? You got to worry about her and your relationship with God. You don't want her to overcome that. You want to put God first, not your wife first. But now that's a struggle you have to deal with. If you weren't married, you wouldn't have to deal with that, period. All right? So there's certain things that come with it. You know? But this day and age, like, your first real relationship should be your last. Really. And I mean this. Your first real relationship should be your last. And if you're someone that's been in a bunch of relationships, I can tell you, you know, those relationships are the first one are going to feel very like that the love is already you already kind of used it on someone else. You know, it's going to be hard to have that love again for the next person. Maybe some people can pull it off, but you're not going to have that charm like you did the first time. You're not going to feel that innate drive that you know, you miss this guy and, oh, I want to be with this guy, I want to be with this guy, I want to be with this girl, man, I miss her so much. You know, it's like that drive that just links you two together. And it's that first bond, that first relationship, that like drive to be together is like inseparable. It's so strong. You get that once. You get that one time. You know, you waste it on someone in a relationship that lasts 3 years, and then you try to date someone else. Guess what? You're never going to have that same bond again. You're not going to care about that person as much as you cared about the first person the first time. You know? Because the first should be the last. Your first wife, your first husband should be the last. You know? Tie this with Revelation. Right? It says Jesus will marry the church. In Revelation it says, you know, the bride will get herself ready. That's us Christ followers that get prepared, because we won't be here, you know, at the end. We'll be with Christ, right? You know, blessed are those that are prepared, and, you know, we're clothed and not to go naked at the end of time. You know, but the ones, you know, it tells us to be prepared individually, and then at the very end it says about, you know, the bride. Because the church is, you know, the bride of Christ. Jesus says all over the Bible, I am the first and the last. Why do you think he says that? I'm the first and the last. I mean, yeah, everyone's like, okay, yeah, but what do you think that really means? If he's going to marry the bride of the church, right, the church being the people, and you're probably thinking, that's weird, he's going to marry us? What the heck does that mean? Like, he's not going to, no, we're not going to kiss him and be weird. It's like, no, the marriage means we're going to be bonded with him, right? Because guess what? He doesn't leave us or forsake us, right? We know that. That's what the Bible says. Jesus doesn't leave us. He doesn't forsake us. So if that's the case, why would we want to leave him? A marriage is when two people come together and become one. They don't want to leave. They don't want to separate. If you love Jesus and Jesus loves you, then why want to separate? There's no marriage in heaven like here. Jesus will marry the church, meaning we'll be all his. We'll be all like one thing, right? As God intended it. You know, Christ will marry the church. We are the bride of Christ. Jesus is the first, and Jesus is also the last. There is no divorce. Jesus doesn't divorce us. We might divorce him in this time, but he doesn't divorce us. He's the first and he's the last. There is no one else. Just like in this world, our wives and our husbands, since it's also marriage, should be the first husband, should be the last. The first wife should be the last. Just like the marriage later on at the end, when we're married to Christ, he is the first, he is the last. He doesn't leave us. Right? Oh yeah, I got these biblical unlocks. Neuron activated. Sorry, I had to say that. Yeah. I mean, that's basically that. You know? So what you should do now? Well, it's like, think about it. If you've already been in a bunch of relationships, but you found someone you want to stick with, you got to play it out. You know, you got to follow. If you want that relationship to last, you really find the person you want to spend your life with. You know, because as humans, we shouldn't try to rush this. You can try to rush it all you want. You're just going to end up in all these crappy relationships that last 5 minutes and break, and then you're going to feel heartbreak. But it's like, you find one guy, you stick with it, and that's the end. There's none of this baloney with you. Oh, I've already dated 10 guys, and you know, I'm kind of used to this whole process. It's like, yeah, you're used to it. You know, it's not new for you. It's not a new and exciting experience because you wasted it on 5 other men, right? I'll tell you what, you know, us men look for women that don't have a high body count. You know, we don't want to date someone that's dated 25 men before. Just saying. Because where is that love going to be? What makes me different than the other 24 men that she met? Right? Likewise, why date a man that's dated a million girls? Well, what's the difference? How is it going to love you any different than the other, 1,000? Right? It's unattractive. You know? And I don't mean the attractiveness about how the outward person looks. You know? So I will say, for me personally, when I'm looking for someone, I'm looking at the inward person. I'm looking at your faith. The first thing I look for in a girl is, do you follow Christ? If the answer is yes, okay, how much do you follow Christ? That's my next question, right? You follow Christ? Great, fantastic. Don't we all? Now, how much do you follow Christ? Do you read the Bible? Do you pray? Do you actually live out his commands? Do you obey him? Do you seek righteousness? Because most people just say, I'm a Christian, I go to church every Sunday. Church doesn't cut it. I want to know if you actually follow Jesus Christ, he is on your mind, you try to live his commands out, right? That's what I'm looking for. Someone that's on the same journey as I would be. I don't want to be dating a girl that's on the wrong path, going down the hell, while I'm trying to find the path to heaven. That's just dissension. Why don't we hold hands together and walk on the path to heaven, and we'll figure out the obstacles along the way. That's a relationship. When you both enter the same obstacles and you overcome them equally the same way. Not someone else, you got one girl that's going the other way. Let me tell you something. If you're going to go into a relationship and you're going to try to change someone, don't bother, it doesn't work. If you find a girl, she doesn't follow Christ, you're thinking, I'll get her to follow God later. Don't, because it's not worth the sin. It's not worth the heartbreak. It's not worth it. Don't do it. I'm telling you right now, do not just exit that relationship. Back out. Let me tell you something. No, just hold on. Hear me out. Let me tell you something. Don't you think God would have put you in a position to date a girl or a guy that already had faith? She's like, oh, this must be the one. This must be the girl. This must be the guy. No. You got to check the boxes. God's not going to put you in a position where you're just going to sin all the time. Right? So if this is really the girl God chose for you, well, how can it be? How can that be true? If she doesn't follow God or doesn't care about him. Maybe she wants to. Maybe she's been experimenting with it. But don't just rush into the relationship. You got to play this out. Know her for a while. Say, okay, let me see how this girl starts, if she's really trying to follow God or not. But to some girl or some guy that doesn't follow Christ or doesn't seem to want to or doesn't have any interest in it, don't try to marry them and date them thinking that you're going to change their mind later. It doesn't work like that. Likewise, same with your political views. If you guys have opposing political views, well, guess what? You're just going to have arguments every day. You turn on Fox News or whatever, you're going to just have arguments every 5 seconds. Right? Right or wrong. Same thing with God. The husband wants to go to church, the wife doesn't. The wife wants to go to church, the husband doesn't. Then what's the issue? You guys should be on the same page. If you're not, you're going to have dissension all over left and right. Right? So that's my thing. Don't go into all these loose relationships that have no foundation. Because I tell you what, you're going to be starting your relationship on the sand, not the rock, and it's going to wash away. The storm hasn't hit yet. Right now it's sunshine and rainbows. You don't see nothing. Wait until the storm hits. You really, that's going to gone. That's what I'm saying. Got to think about it. Remember, the first should be the last. The Bible gives instruction, you know? That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm, so comparing that to like where I am now, that's what I look for. I look for a girl that follows Christ already. You know? She doesn't need to be the best at it. She doesn't need to be like fully all the way there, because I'm not. But someone that just is like already lukewarm, it's like it's hard to get a lukewarm person to not be lukewarm. Very difficult. Lukewarm Christianity is its own religion in itself, and it's led by the devil. That's just all believe in God and do everything your own way. That's not how it works. No, it's follow God and try to do everything His way. Seek His will, not your own. Seek righteousness, Let God answer your decisions for you. Don't try to, don't try to guide yourself. Let the Spirit guide you. I don't want any nonsense where it's just like, oh, I love God. I love God because I go to church. I'm like, do you read the Bible? No. Do you have a Bible? No. I'm good. Thank you. Because I'll tell you what, the men and the women today are always looking at the outward attractive. Oh, that girl's hot. Oh, that guy is so attractive. I guess, let me tell you something. All the people that are usually really attractive on the outside are really unattractive on the inside. That is harsh truth. I know that hurts to say. I mean, I tell you what, look at me. I'm not a supermodel. Look at me. I ain't no supermodel. Tell you what. But that's just how it is. That's just at least the pattern. Because all the people that try to beautify themselves, top, head to toe on the outside, that's all they care about. I want to see the people that spend every morning beautifying themselves on the inside with the Bible. Not the people that waste 4 hours on makeup to try to look like, they're wearing all these clothing that's showing all of this skin that they don't need to be showing, short shorts and all these weird tops that just show every inch of your body. You don't need to be walking around trying to seduce every person you see. Just be normal. Why are you trying to beautify the outward self? It's like, wouldn't it be better to beautify the inward self? Because that lasts longer. Because I tell you what, you put the makeup on, you dress the way you do, that's fine. But at the end of the day, you take it all off. But when you beautify your inward self and you dress up the inside, that stays. At the end of the night, at the end of the day, you're not undressing the inside. You're not going to remove the faith, whatever. That faith stays with you. Right? So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for someone that wants to beautify the inside, or already is. Not the people that, focused head to toe on beautifying the outside. It's a waste. At the end of the day, they take it off anyway. So why bother? So you may walk around and say, wow, that girl's hot. Wow, that guy is hot. But I'm looking for people that want to follow God. I'm not looking for the girls that are walking around trying to be like, hey, look at me, guys, look at me, look at me. I don't want that. The reason why I don't want that is because I know that relationship's not going to go anywhere. That's the point. Because I tell you what, if you really let the Spirit lead you, and you really love God, you really love the Bible, guess what? The most attractive girls are not going to be the other ones that were like all on the outside. You're going to start seeing the ones that attract on the inside. You're going to see it. You're going to see, wow, that girl's really hot on the inside. I see her faith. I see how she loves this. I see how she does that. She likes to do these things. She doesn't go to clubs every night. She doesn't go partying. She doesn't do weird stuff at college. She's just a normal person. And I could see that because I can sense they're when they're more reserved. They're not all over the place trying to flash themselves out like a bird doing a mating call. They're just walking normally and just being a normal person. Like, hey, how you doing? Just normal. And guess what? All those girls will become attractive for you because you're going to see that. Same with the men. The big, strong, like, oh yeah, I play football and I do these things. Like, they may be attractive first sight. But you know what? All the nerdy kids like me with the glasses and everything, all the ones that the girls don't care about, it's like, I tell you what, those people are the ones that will live their life with you. They won't leave, or they won't whatever. All the nerdy people that follow God, they may not look the most attractive as the other guys. They may not look like chiseled, face and and tan skin and super like whatever crazy like colored eyes and crazy hair. Like, but I tell you what, those people are more attractive on the inside. They will actually be there for you when you need it. They won't leave. They won't, do whatever. They'll walk with you. You know. That's not to say that you can't. If you're a girl, that's not to say you can't wear makeup or anything. But the Bible does say, don't worry about all the earrings and the, don't worry about trying to dress yourself up, make your hair look nice and all these things, but worry about the stuff on the inside. There's a verse, I'll put it in the description whenever I find it. I read it the other day and I was like, dang, part of the inspiration for the video. But I'll definitely, if I find any verses for this, because I know they're out there, I'll put them in the description. You can take a look at them if you want. But that's basically that. I'm done yapping. Make sure your first relationship is your last. Don't date a bunch of girls for no reason. Don't date a bunch of guys for any reason. Be patient. Let God do the work for you. God will find you the right woman. God will find you the right man. You don't need to go out scouring for it. You don't need to stage yourself in random places. No, it'll happen the way it happens. You know what I'm saying? Like a Hallmark movie. Like, oh, I got this 1 million job offer, but you know what? I'm going to turn it down so I can make cookies here in Evergreen. I mean, I'm right though, right? You look at all those Hallmark movies and it's always like, they get this the guy or the girl can make like $1 million at this company, and then they always got to call their boss and be like, yeah, so I won't be able to fly down to Miami to do this thing. I'm gonna stay in this little town and I'm gonna make cookies and do this. So they're like, what? You're fired. That's just funny. So you don't have to do that either. Hallmark should make a movie like that, but they should include God. They should include the Bible. That would be worth watching. I'd be, like with the Christmas movies and all that. Like that'd be nice, but like, can we actually include Christ in here? It's like y'all are so focused on the tree and the ornaments and the lights. It's like where is God? Isn't Christmas supposed to be celebrating his Christ's birth, right? I don't know. That's another tangent. I ain't getting into that one. That'll take another hour of me yapping to finish. But yeah, that's all I gotta say. If you liked the video, let me know. If you don't like the video, then hit a dislike. I don't really care. Leave a comment. If you like what I said, you agree, then cool. If you don't, then you can argue with me in the comments. I probably won't respond, but that's just that. Let me know what you think. I'll include verses in the description whenever I find them. I'm a pretty lazy person. I struggle with that recently. I've been pretty busy and distracted with work and 1,000 projects, like fixing a bike and doing like electronics. I'm trying to, I got batteries and things here. Trying to do a bunch of stuff. Gotta get my soldering iron out. I gotta do this thing. I'm not very good at soldering. Don't tell anyone. I mean, I can make it work, but I don't make it look pretty. Okay, I can solder to like a degree. Okay, we'll leave it. We'll leave it at that. I can solder a little bit. All right, a little bit. But yeah, that's all I gotta say. Yeah, stay faithful. Read the Bible. Love God. Love people. And I run a study every night. Ow, I just stubbed my own toe with my other foot. That was embarrassing. I run a study every night at 9:30 p.m. EST. I gotta make that clear because some people get confused and they're like, is it 7:30? I'm like, no. I mean, maybe in your time if you're like MST, but definitely not EST. Because we had a few people in there. The one guy was from like Brazil. We had another person in like somewhere else. Another guy was somewhere else. And it was like all these time zones. Very confusing to get everyone on the same page. So yeah, 9:30 p.m. EST. That's Eastern Standard Time. I got peach juice on my sock. I gotta clean that. I'm done yapping. I said that like 10 times, but I'm gonna be done for now. So see you later. That's all I gotta say. Peace.